In the Federal Capital Territory, the Commission raided multiple supermarkets and markets within the Federal Capital Territory to ensure adherence to price display and quantity regulations, aiming to reduce the cost of food commodities nationwide. Well, the Commission that's talking about the FCCPC. The Commission, during the raid, sealed off For You supermarkets in Wuse 2, Abuja, over shady malpractices that are harmful to Nigerian consumers. Now, this followed the discovery that supermarkets are selling rice produced by Stallion and Caprice, even though the said companies have stopped rice production for years. It was also discovered that the prices of some products on the shelf were different from the prices at the selling point, while some products had no price tag at all.
Well, let's have this conversation with Andrew Mamedu, the country director of ActionAid Nigeria, on what more can be done by government to address a deliberate exploitation of citizens. Good to see you and thanks for your time. These are times that Nigerians would want agencies like the FCCPC and NGOs, ActionAid to weigh in. Otherwise, it will seem as if Nigerians are just having their hands up in the air with no one coming to their aid. Now, paint for us a picture of what exactly is happening concerning price manipulation, price hike, and some kind of shoddy and shady arbitrary price increase around the country.
Thank you very much, Suleiman. Thanks, Ngozi. So the first thing is we've always had inflation with us, so we are used to price of things going up. However, I think sometime in December, there was this skyrocketing of price up till sometime 2 or 3 weeks ago as a result of several factors, but the biggest of them all was the exchange rates. So we got to a point where the exchange rate got to almost 1,900, 1,950 in the official market and in parallel market. All of that, so that and several other factors contributed to price increase. I'll give you specific examples. So you go to electronic shops in the morning, the price in the morning is different from the price in the afternoon or in the evening. So their justification or their reason was the exchange rate. So once you go to the market, it's not the same exchange you get in the morning, you get in the evening. So they give you the price for which they are getting it at that particular time. But all of these, the consumer is the one that bears the brunt at the end of the day. But there are other factors. So things like the production. So it's about demand and supply. So simple economics. If you have lots of demand more than supply, then of course prices of things would go up. But if you have more supply coming in, so during those times, people were cautious. Producers were cautious. They were cautious of things that they were importing, and there's what you call the import-driven inflation. So because we are heavily dependent on importation, so all of those, and we're buying these things in foreign currency, it then made the prices of these things go up. So what would we have done? Now, one of the factors has been dealt with, which is, of course, the exchange rate, or is being dealt with, so it has not been fully dealt with. Yeah. So it's being dealt with because, of course, where we started this journey, when
it's being dealt with,
yes,
drastically.
It's drastic.
Really, yeah, no, I mean, from 1,900 to
almost 1,000,
about 1,100 as of today.
Now. Perfect. But where did we start from? So as at 6 months ago or 5 months ago, where were we? We're at 700, 800 and something. Yeah. So until we probably get to that level, then we then say, okay, there is respite. But let the Naira find its true value. But so all of those contributed to this. So dealing with that alone would not solve the problem. So how do we deal with other factors, the other causative factors that's leading to the price increase, including the way citizens and consumers behave. So citizens' behavior, so there are several factors. So one of them is, for instance, you know that during Ramadan, example, period. So periodization is a major issue. You know that during Christmas, prices of things go up. Yeah. So you know that during Ramadan, prices of things goes up. So prices of food go up because there are less production. And with the level of insecurity, so we work with over 2 million smallholder farmers. Now, one of their biggest we're running a research right now to see to what extent is even insecurity affecting.
It's a place for us to just hold your thoughts. Now you're talking about research. That's your cue out.
Yes.
Let's quickly see what Mary has gone out to find, because the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has frowned at the consistent rise in prices of goods and services, as we just highlighted with Mamedu, despite the drop in dollar rates. Here's what Mary Chinda found.
The Massacre Market is the venue of today's surveillance exercise by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. The focus is to interact with traders as prices of goods and services keep soaring despite the strengthening of the naira.
Exchange rate is going down. So we are here to come and find out from 3 levels of stakeholders. The first being the market executives, the second being the sellers, and the third stakeholders are consumers. This is a big market for direct food supply from the farm to the market. And so we wanted to see the value chain and how they are interacting with the prices and cost variables.
Traders here are blaming this on other factors such as fuel price hike, high cost of transportation, and taxation.
Even though this massacre market, if you carry like 50,000, 60,000 come to this market to come sell little tomatoes. Before you know, by be like say breeze just pack the money, or even be like say you just lost the money. Okay, see am now. Sort to a person they buy little money now. Before you know the thing don't high. Transport too much, everything too much.
FCCP's head of surveillance and investigation weighs in on the matter.
Just from what we heard from the yam seller behind us, there are multiple taxes that is also affecting the final cost to the seller. Then this cost is passed on to the consumer. Basically, the first one is transportation. Now, the transportation is in multiple levels, starting from the farmer who is in the hinterlands inside the farm. He has to bring it to the market day in the village.
The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, says it will leave no stone unturned until Nigerian consumers begin to enjoy the benefits of the strengthening of the naira on the market, especially as regards the rising cost of food prices. Mary Chinda, Arise News.
All right. So we have Andrew Mamedu in the studio, Country Director, ActionAid Nigeria. You were landing on your thoughts before we brought in Mary's report there, and you were talking about your research, yes, and other factors that could contribute to this, increasing prices in spite of the fact that the naira continues to gain value or strength.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, like I was speaking to about 2 million smallholder women farmers. Currently, the biggest factor affecting the cost of production for them, or the supply chain for them, the supply value chain, is insecurity. So insecurity plays a major role here. So even if you deal with this, and so I think part of the FCCPC's function is to deal with all of these issues. One of the major things they deal with is the issue of price gauging. Right. So price gouging is arbitrarily increasing price beyond reasonable amounts. Mm-hmm. So we've seen that happen. So there is there's a greed factor. So I think we need to also bring that on the table. There is a greed factor amongst people. People take advantage of the situation. So how do you deal with it? So even with the regulatory agency, the FCCPC, going to the supermarkets to shut them down, it can only deal with issues of differential prices between what is on the counter and the checkout price. It can deal with issues of spoiled products, poor quality products. It can deal with issues of collusion and price fixing. But you cannot deal with the issue of, the price of rice is 40,000 today and tomorrow it goes to 50,000. We don't have a clear policy or a clear law that says this is the acceptable margin of increase you can execute in the market at any particular point in time. So if you don't have that, you can check it.
Is that what we need? Clear, unambiguous laws to address this price gouging?
Now, so
Is that where we need to start?
So it has advantage, it has disadvantage.
Right.
So you cannot deal with you cannot peg price. So that's the first thing. We shouldn't peg price. So pegging of price has got huge implication. So it brings about at the end of the day, it brings about hoarding. It brings about a lot of people. It does not bring creativity. It does not bring investors into your economy. So it has all of those factors. But there has to be some form of regulation. Right. And in the regulation, the best way to deal with it is demand and supply. Flood the market. And in simple economics, it's a graph. So once the prices of things, so there's much profit. In an area where you have much profit, lots of people are naturally going to move towards that area. And if lots of people go into that area, there'll be much more production in that area. And once there's much more production starts exceeding demand, supply exceeding demand, then the price starts coming down. So it's simple economics. So how do we promote, get things more, produce more, and pump them into the economy? How do we deal with the factor? The cost of borrowing fund. Right. It's 27% currently. The cost of inflation. So even if nothing happened, food inflation is at 40%. Yeah. So naturally, one month to the other, if nothing happened, the cost of food would averagely increase by over 3% just within 1 month. So if you buy something at 100 naira today, by next month, 1 month's time, it's going to be at 103, just with only inflation. Not to talk of the cost of production. So power has increased. So who's going to bear the brunt? So all of those would contribute to all of this. So the dollar is not going to play that magic. Yes, it plays a significant role. It should be able to reduce it. Then there's what you call time lag. So the question of time lag, how long does it take? It depends on the product. It depends on the policy.
Yeah, sorry to cut you there, but I'm trying to put this in because those are economics that a lot of people might understand. But how does it happen that we just talked about the dollar, and that was late last year, and now that the naira is making some good gains, how is it that things go up in Nigeria?
It never come down.
And once there's an improvement in our currency, you don't see it come down. So how do we address that? Because that's just the problem. You go to the stores today, no matter what has happened, it still doesn't reflect on what your purchasing power is.
So let me give you a practical example that happens every time. Once there's increase in fuel price, today there's an announcement of increase in fuel price. So even those with old stock would increase their price and sell at the new price. So the justification they give is that we are going to use the money we are selling this to get the new products. That is on one hand. On the other hand, when there is a decrease, they'll tell you, no, we have not finished selling the old produce that we got at the higher price, so we have to finish it before we drop it. So I think that's where the regulation comes to play. So we need to then fix that. So if prices increase, we are very fast. If the dollar depreciates, for instance, we are very fast to increase the price. But when the dollar reduces, naira appreciates. So when the naira appreciates, then it's difficult for us to comply because there are levels of uncertainty, a whole lot of that. But how do we deal with that whole consciousness and greed? So as citizens, how do we go to a particular supermarket and call them out? How do we make sure that you go to a particular supermarket, some of them were mentioned right now. So you go there, you take their prices, and you compare it with their prices maybe 2 or 3 months ago, 2 months ago, a month ago, when dollar was that amount, and say, this is what we are seeing. So you need citizens' action, not just government. So this is where ActionAid comes to play. So that's where ActionAid migration comes to play. So that whole citizens movement, citizens should go to social media, take up their phones, and start this campaign. It's not just us waiting for government. So that behavior, that greed, and all that, we need to check
it. How can ActionAid help the citizens here? What can they do instead of going to the social media? Can they approach you?
So sure, of course, they can approach us. So we for instance, we have various groups we are working with that are huge numbers. So we have groups that are like 2 million, we have groups that are 7 million. So those kind of groups, we are looking at what can we do together. So but citizens Nigerians, everyday Nigerians, need to join this campaign and say,
right,
let us get our prices right and fair pricing. That is what we are advocating for. Nobody should take advantage, because at the end of the day, what Sullivan said, it is the citizens that bear the brunt. And for ActionAid, it increases poverty for us. And how do we reduce poverty? Which is our mission as an organization.
Indeed. And in the case of the supermarket, there's a criminal dimension to it where, you know, repackaged rice, for example, by a brand that's been off you know, production for a while.
So would they be prosecuted? Would they be prosecuted? That's the question.
Yeah.
On a lighter
Andrew
note,
Mamedu, I have to say thank you very much.
On a lighter note, I worry for you, because I think one of those supermarkets looks like your favorite.
My favorite, right?
I worry for Ngozi.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there.